Maine, what's good, brother? How are you doing?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Doing all right. You still printing money? You're the 1% that's been making money in this job. The other 99%, myself included, still just watching everything. We pump a day, we go back down. It's not fun, dude.
Yeah, I'm still doing okay. We've maintained in this kind of range-bound environment that I have a bit of an affinity for, but it has been tough. The opportunities have been few and far between. Like you said, we kind of have that whole staircase up. You think we might start to trend, and then one candle completely erases it. We're kind of like back to square one. So, not the easiest environment, and like we've been saying in previous episodes, probably not the best environment for a lot of people to be trying to force trades in right now.
Did you have any nice trades this week?
Right now, I've been struggling a little bit trying to get long personally. So, if everyone remembers our episode from like 2 weeks ago, we kind of talked about the move from 20K to around 22K. So, if you go watch that last episode, it's basically exactly what happened. We were expecting to move up to about 22, a little higher than that, and then another drop. And that is what we got. I was able to get the long up there and the short back down. But I am trying to take a stab at a long here. I think Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the equities markets, the S&P 500 specifically, are at a very critical area that I'm willing to bid. I think the risk reward favors longs here, and I think if we lose this area, as people like to say, it's lights out. So I'm nibbling at some longs here, hopefully for some relief.
Yeah, I played the merge a little bit, lost a tiny bit of money trying to get long ETH as we dumped right back through that level. But the one thing I've been trading today and yesterday, it's almost disgusting to say it, but I'll come clean. Luna and Luna Classic. Two absolute garbage shit coins. Do Kwon actually just got arrested, I think, this past week, or there's a warrant out. Something's happening with Do Kwon.
There's a warrant. He lives in Singapore, though, so he's on the lamp, as they say.
Luna, though. Two of these coins, Luna and Luna Classic, have just been the biggest movers. While everything else in the market is flat, you have Luna, both of these coins, they pumped 15% this morning, dumped back down 10 or 15%. Now they're up 25 or 30%. It's the only thing in the market. If you like trading alts, if you like volatility, it's like a reminder of how sweet things used to be. These coins are moving. And it's giving some nice trading opportunities. But besides that, it was really just the merge, man. What do you think about the merge this week? Were you surprised at all on how this played out?
So, I mean, not really. And again, to toot our own horn here, we kind of talked about that move from 800 to 2000. We kind of viewed that as the bullishness of the merge being priced in. And we also kind of discussed that we thought it was actually a good thing that Ethereum wasn't at like 2000, on merge day and had a ton of room to fall. It ended up being a bit of the sell the news event, but I think macro, this is absolutely bullish for Ethereum long term. I think it is probably one of the biggest feats and accomplishments in crypto in the last 5 years to actually have this be a success with how many moving parts there are in this decentralized network. I think it's a great thing. I think anyone who is involved in it should be proud. And I do think that long term, this is great for Ethereum. Unfortunately, we didn't get, some sort of instant appreciation in price. I didn't really think that we were going to get that. I think this is more like, hey, this is great for Ethereum in the long run. In terms of like, oh, Ethereum's going to 2x in price post merge. I never really thought that was going to happen. And unfortunately, it seemed like it was a little bit of a sell the news event as we dropped, nearly 10% basically the next day.
I think there's really two narratives that come out of this that are important to watch. The first one is this ESG narrative now, that Ethereum is going to be a better coin for the future, right? Better for the environment. And you've already seen the World Economic Forum jump on that. We're going to have CNBC and Bloomberg and everyone jump on that next bull cycle saying this is better than Bitcoin and proof of work is destroying the environment, regardless of whether or not you agree with that. I think that's going to be huge, and I think a lot of funds and institutions are going to buy that narrative of this is how things should work in crypto. This is good for the planet. So I think that's one thing to watch. The second thing, this one's a little bit concerning. The big belief going into the merge was that ETH is going to be deflationary right now after the merge, and there was even this website that came out. It's called Ultrasound Money, and it shows you how many ETH now have left kind of the supply now that we've switched to proof of stake. The problem is, it's not necessarily that clear cut. Like now the Ethereum supply is actually rising again. It's based on the activity on the network. So there's two big narratives. One is the ESG. I think that's going to be overwhelmingly positive for ETH. The second is people's beliefs going into the merge, I think, are going to get challenged. Rightfully so, maybe ETH sold off a little bit. It wasn't the worst day after, though. We're still sitting at 1,400, 1,500, so can't complain.
For sure. And Ethereum BTC has massively outperformed Bitcoin since the June bottom, right? So it is natural that there is going to be some sort of return to the mean and a period where maybe Bitcoin is outperforming. Arthur did write a new article touching on what you just mentioned with the deflationary aspect. He is super bullish on it.
Oh, yeah.
So take what that for what you will, what you think it's worth, Arthur. If you think I one thing I love about him, he's a great writer. Whether you like the guy or not, he is a fantastic writer. I do love reading his articles, but it's going to be interesting. I love seeing Nomad, arguing with the .eth guys on the timeline, because I don't really have a stake in either. I don't consider myself a Bitcoin maxi or an Ethereum maxi. I own both coins. I plan to continue to accumulate both coins. So it's kind of fun to watch from the sidelines in something that is relatively a cyclical argument. We're never going to really know who's right until it's already, been decided, and it's well too late to, profit from that.
One final note on the merge on how to trade this now is forget ETH, right? Everyone's trying to determine if they should buy ETH right now, if they should wait for lower prices, if the merge is bullish or bearish. I think there's an interesting strategy where you can totally forget ETH, and that's looking at coins that are related to the ETH merge, but not necessarily ETH. And the reason I think that that's important, things like Ethereum Classic, things like Lido, the reason I think that's a valuable strategy and probably beneficial to anyone is because if you're trying to trade ETH, it's like betting on the Super Bowl, for sports bettors. Everyone bets on that. There's very little edge. There's big money in that. It's a big pond, right? You're a small fish there. If you can trade Ethereum Classic, I don't understand why Ethereum Classic has value now. I think that was just people were betting on that. Maybe if this merge failed, who knows? I think there's some coins loosely affected by the merge that are going to provide better trading opportunities that you can have an edge by kind of digging in and saying, should Ethereum Classic have any value? Is Lido going to benefit from the staking? So I think if anyone's out there trading the merge or trying to decide how do I make money now that Ethereum's proof of stake, I think looking at some of those coins loosely related to ETH is probably going to be better. You're not going to have much edge in trying to pick the exact bottom for ETH.
Yeah, I call these proxy plays, right? In the traditional markets, for example, let's say you're bullish on the equities market. You're bullish on the S&P 500. There's going to be movers within the S&P 500 basket that outperform other companies, right? So rather than trying to catch 2 points of upside in the S&P, there might be some stocks within the S&P that are going up 10, 20%. And that's exactly what we saw with ETC going into the merger as well. Everyone was super bullish, kind of leading into the merger. Bitcoin was getting outperformed by Ethereum the past couple months. ETC actually outperformed everything. Right. So, and that was kind of a sleeper. So absolutely, there's some value in looking at, ecosystem plays, right? You're bullish on Cosmos. Maybe you don't just long Atom, but you long other things within that ecosystem. And there might be more, potential delta, right? You're going to have some asymmetry in what, some things might pump more than that kind of, Atom or Ethereum and the Ethereum ecosystem.
All right. What else happened this week? We have CPI inflation numbers. I hate to do it, but we have to bring up the word. We got to talk about macro just for a second. We'll be quick with this, but inflation numbers came out. They were higher than expectations. I'm starting to think that it doesn't matter if they're higher than expectations. It doesn't matter if they're lower than expectations. It does not matter. Inflation is high, and people need to stop getting excited that anything is changing when these numbers come out, because immediately after they came out, stocks were down 5%. Bitcoin had a down 10% day, worst day since we crossed below 30K. Maine, why are people not, they still haven't learned? Are they not watching the show? What the fuck's going on?
Clearly not. And they should be, because we talked about this. And what I thought was absolutely hilarious was the US government had a celebration. They had Joe Biden do a big press conference, basically celebrating that 3 weeks ago they signed the Inflation Reduction Act. And while that was happening on the screen, the Dow Jones, the S&P were down 4 to 5%, representing like the single biggest single day drawdown in like over a year in equities. So kind of hilarious in an ironic but sad, because we're all going broke way. I think we're still at that point in this bear market, in this recession, where bad news continues to have a bad effect on price. And we talked about this in the last video. We want to start seeing the direct effect of negative news the impact be lessened as the market becomes more bullish as a whole. And we're just not seeing that yet. Every time we get a bad piece of news, the market is digesting that, and the result is very negative, demonstrably so in the charts. So I think, again, we got everyone talking about, oh, macro this, macro that. It's like, listen, at the end of the day, the macro continues to be bad and the market continues to react more strongly to negative news than it does positively to good news. So until that trend changes, it's not looking good, bruv.
Yeah, one thing I'll keep saying, I said this a couple weeks ago, I just don't think it's helpful to study this. Like, even if you have a good read on macro and you're watching these numbers come out and you say, if we're lower than expectations, maybe we pump. There's a chart. I looked at the previous times these inflation numbers have came out for the past couple of months, because it's going to happen again next month. In 2 weeks, we're going to do this show. Macro numbers are going to come out again. People are going to get ready to trade it. I looked at the numbers over the past 2 months. In July, we were higher than expectations. Inflation came out 9.1%, estimated 8.8%. Market actually pumped, which is kind of backwards. Inflation turned out to be higher than we thought. Then in August, last month, inflation was lower than expectations, and 7 days later, price was lower. So even if you think that it's worth trading this and you have a good read and the numbers this month show that inflation is fading, whatever the fuck you believe, the data just doesn't show that good numbers, bad numbers are helping us. We're trading in a range. Price reacts negatively generally after these numbers, and I just still don't think it's a winning game. If I can turn a couple of you into stop trading this thing, you'll have more coin for when things do come back.
Yeah, you would have been better off just trading the chart, because in July we were at support, when those numbers came out. And in this instance, we had pumped 10% over the previous week leading up to it into resistance. What happened? We rejected. I think trying to make your strategy around CPI numbers and stuff right now is kind of a fool's game. Like, you're better off either sitting on your hands, waiting for some more obvious opportunities, or trade it for what it is. Right now, it's a range, and long support, short resistance until it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I don't know about you. Actually, you did come from the FX world. Me coming from the FX world as well. Like, that's the game I left. Let the TradFi people play this macro inflation breakdown what Jay Powell says. That's not a fun game. It's much more fun to focus on which project creates the best memes. What's the next sector in crypto? What's growing here? Right? That's a game that I think a lot of us can win. A lot of us can do very well at. I think it's a losing game to try to beat traditional finance at their own thing. So anyways, last thoughts on CPI there.
One thing that is worrisome as crypto becomes more mainstream and we get more institutional investors and big players in the space is that it does get ground down to that FX grind. That's why everyone left FX, right? Like, I mean, regardless of the leverage over there, you're fighting over, a 1% day is a big day in FX, and we're so spoiled here in crypto. And I just hope that volatility just doesn't leave the space because it becomes more traditional over time. But I do think that there is an interesting point here. One thing that you'll see in a bear market generally is you have the bear market where it's a big downtrend, and then you have the bear market of volatility. And I think that's kind of where we're getting to now. We've had the massive depreciation in price from all-time high. We're down 60, 70, 80, 90% on some coins. And now we're getting into that period of time where they don't just kill you with the fact that price is down, the volatility just dries up. There's just nothing for days, and then boom, 5% move, and then again, nothing for days again. And that's just as painful.
I think more so. That was 2018. If you go back at that chart, that's when coins would move. I mean, even Bitcoin was moving. It was like $30 a day for months, barely 1 or 2%.
You look at it backward, like you look at it now and you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Because look, after that ended, we rallied. But when you were in it, man, it was almost as if you're like in school and you're looking at the clock waiting for that lecture to end. And it feels like that last 5 minutes is 5 hours. That's how it felt trading, man. It was extremely painful. And I'm very glad that I'm in a position this bear market that I don't actually have to try and trade it. I don't envy people who are like, no, I need to trade right now. It's not a fun environment to be in.
So what do people do, dude? Like, what are you doing this weekend to keep your mind off of it? I know I'm about to watch the Canelo fight. I might even pick up reading again. I think that's where we are in the bear market.
Let's not get crazy. No one needs to read here. I mean, football's back, baby. What else do we need, right? We got Sunday football. We got Monday night football, Thursday night football. The season started off on a bang. So if you're not going to go touch grass yourself, at least watch other grown men do it on TV. That's what I would suggest. And drink beer while you're doing it.
One way we have to bring you guys into the show, one way we've been trying to do that is if you comment on this video, we'll highlight 1 or 2 questions every single week. We'll talk about coins, topics, ideas, and we do have some questions this week. So comment down below what you want answered next week. This week, we got a question. Let's see, Ali Might. He said, do you think it'd still pay off to convert Bitcoin to ETH by now? He expects Ethereum versus Bitcoin to correct once the merge is over. And if you had a substantial amount of Bitcoin, is the risk reward in play in general be profitable in your opinion? I think he's thinking medium to long term. He's got a big chunk of Bitcoin. He's wondering if this merge changed everything. Are you moving more to ETH? I've kind of already been in that mindset of like, I'm going to hold more ETH than Bitcoin. That's just me personally though, because I'm a little bit more willing to take risk, I guess you could say. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I'm with you long term for sure. Like in terms of what I'm trying to accumulate this bear market, my portfolio is going to be more heavily weighted in Ethereum than it is in Bitcoin, because I do think on the whole, the macro long term, the merge is good. I think just looking at the last 2 bull runs, Ethereum generally outperforms Bitcoin in terms of US, in terms of, versus dollars. But to answer your question, right, the Ethereum Bitcoin chart is that entire discussion you're having in your head. And where I see the Ethereum Bitcoin chart right now is similar to what this guy suggested here. Is that I do think it is due for a little bit of correction. We're in a very large range on Ethereum Bitcoin. We have been for well over a year. And we're near that top of the range, and it looks like we're breaking back into it. We'll throw up a chart so you guys can see. And that does mean, at least in terms of like potentially a short-term rotational trade, there could be a period of time here where Bitcoin appreciates relative to Ethereum. That being said, if Ethereum Bitcoin is going down, but both Bitcoin and Ethereum are going down, that just means that Bitcoin's going down less. So just because Bitcoin, FBTC is going down, it doesn't mean that, converting your Bitcoin to Ethereum is going to make you money necessarily. It just might make you lose money a little more slowly. So you got to keep that in mind as well. What direction are both USD pairs going? And then look at that cross pair of Ethereum BTC.
I mean, we need people in the space, dude. That's why these coins aren't moving. We need your friends, we need your family, we need your grandma who texts you for advice, and it's not happening. It might take a while to come back, dude. I'm getting flashbacks to 2018 now that you brought it up.
Yeah, I mean, I made a post the other day on Twitter about the 2-year bond paying out 4%. And I had a lot of people comment saying, well, we don't care about 4%. We're in crypto. And it's like, that's not the point. Regular people,
yeah,
who we need to have another bull run and to see those crazy prices, your friends, like you just said, Luke, your friends, your family who are buying the safe moons and all that bullshit. We need the general population to have disposable income and to believe that risk assets are a good investment or they're going to outperform more risk off assets like bonds, right? We are not there right now. Inflation is killing people. People do not have the disposable income they had, 12 months ago during COVID, when everyone was at home. They were getting checks from the government and they were sending their stimmy money directly to Robinhood. That is not the environment anymore. And the 2-year bonds topped in 2018 when the last bear market bottomed. So that is something you absolutely want to watch. Until those yields come down, the dollar comes down, people start having some disposable income, inflation comes down. You have to frame this separately. You can't think, well, I still think 4% is shit. You're in crypto. You're a degenerate, right?
Yeah.
You are not the target market. You weren't going anywhere anyways, right? We need the people who left and new people to come back. And I just don't see that happening. The merger was a great example of that. It just kind of went off without a bang. It's kind of like you just kind of hope there'd be more excitement over it, and you kind of just remember it's like, oh yeah, there's 2,000 of us on crypto Twitter just exchanging tokens with each other at this point.
Everyone that's tuning in right now, that's everyone trading. So keep that in mind before you smash the long on something else or think this is the next big play. You have tons of time, a lot of time to think about these decisions, these portfolio moves, and that can be a benefit, right? You have 6 months, maybe a year, who knows, maybe only 3 months, whatever it is. You got a lot of fucking time on your hands. So enjoy some football this weekend. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Can't say it enough. Hit the subscribe button. We have some big things in the pipeline. I'm going to keep them quiet. You might notice we're not going to ask for name suggestions this week. We have decided on a name for the show. So just stay tuned for that. Be sure you subscribe, drop those questions. And I think that's all we got, man. We'll let them know what's happening in these next couple weeks. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, brother.